Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'll go over the best in slot gear for Holy Paladins in AQ and give you my 2 cents on the matter. Now, just a disclaimer before we get started, I never personally rated an AQ, so I can't speak from personal experience, but I believe that I have enough judgment to give you an appropriate take on the subject. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start with the first slot, which is your helm. So when it comes to that one, you have a couple of options, and it's really a matter of personal preference as far as what you value most in terms of stats. Do you prefer more healing power or more crit? Don Rigoberto's Lost Hat is the latest addition on this list, and it drops from Uro in AQ 40. Now, all of those headpieces are obviously very nice, but the crown and the cap drop from world bosses, so Azure Ghost and Lethon respectively. It shouldn't be such a problem to acquire if you are in a good reputable guild on a balanced server, but just keep in mind that it could take a while due to RNGs. On the other hand though, if you are on a heavily imbalanced server, that your schedule doesn't fit around the world boss respawn timers, that you're not in a world boss coalition, or got kicked from it, then Mish or Don Rigoberto's are your other options. But they are still very good ones, and in both cases, whether you go for the world bosses or raid drops, it's a matter of personal preference between healing power versus crit. Personally, if I had to choose any of them, I would probably go for the Deviate Growth Cap because of the nice balance of stats on it. The high healing, MP5, and crit are obviously insane for Holy Paladins, and while the crown has a ridiculous amount of healing, I'd balance that out by seeking higher healing power pieces elsewhere. But don't get me wrong, I wouldn't complain if I was handed out a crown though. And in the end, for whatever upgrade you end up getting, you'll want your ZG enchant for an additional 24 healing power, which is gonna make it a very strong healing slot. And now let's talk about the neck. So the Amulet of the Fallen God is without a doubt the best in slot necklace. You will probably upgrade it from a Jindo's Evil Eye, so you will lose the intellect and spirit in exchange of 13 extra healing power, 6 mana per 5, and some stamina, which is better. This is a good upgrade in terms of stats for its slot, but before putting it on your wish list, you will want to consider 2 things. First, it is the reward that you get from turning in the Eye of Cthulhu, which also gives a very nice spell hit ring. Therefore, if you have a mage council in your guild or some caster officers, you might not get your hands on it before a few weeks. You will also want to consider all the other items that you can get from Cthulhu first, and as you will see later, there are other pieces that you might want before that neck. And now let's talk about the shoulders. So the Wild Growth Spolders are by far the best healing shoulders that you can get your hands on at an early stage in the game. If you ever want to create a paladin or druid alt for healing, those should be on your prio list right off the bat. They are best in slot until Nax, even though they come from Majordomo and Molten Core. And with the 33 healing power enchant from ZG Exalted, my oh my are those good. I mean, as a paladin, your next upgrade are your tier 3 shoulders, so talk about one hell of a jump. And don't worry about not having any upgrade for that slot in AQ. You'll have to compete for less items, which means that you should get through your wish list faster if the RNG gods are in your favor. Now the next up on the list is the Cloak of Clarity. This one is the second item out of the 4 best in slots on your list that drop from Cthulhu. It's basically a better version of a Shroud of Pure Thought, with spirit, less stamina, extra healing, and MP5. But whether you currently have a Shroud of Pure Thought or a Heart of the Wild, this upgrade will give you either slightly more healing and MP5, or a solid 8 MP5 increase. Not the best item for a last boss of a raid, but still not negligible. And don't forget to enchant it with the +5 all resistance once you get it. I've been looking around and some guides say to put the AQ threat enchant on it, but your healing threat isn't as bad as a druid, for example. Therefore, I really don't think it's worth it, especially when you consider that this enchant requires 4 Nexus crystals. Since we don't know if the purple items we've been banking all this time will DE into crystals or not just yet, I would not even bother about it and just go for the all resist. And now let's talk about the chest slot. So the Robes of the Guardian Saint is an absolutely amazing item because whatever you upgrade it from, you will love it. Coming into Phase 5, you either have Robe of the Exalted or Robe of Volatile Power. And if you have anything else, then you will be absolutely mind blown by this robe. If you have the MC robe, you will lose your 2% crit, but you will gain massive healing power, some extra stamina and intellect, and MP5. And if you have the Strat Home robe, then your healing power will only increase by 2, but you will get MP5 with 22 intellect and 10 stamina on top of that, which is absolutely massive. That is definitely something that will be in my top 3 wishlist items. And if you are like me and you have Robe of the Exalted, aesthetically speaking, it has the same teal color, which some people dislike, but it also has a gold design on it, which makes it very nice in my opinion. But whether you like the looks or not, just slap a +4 stats or 100 mana on it, and you are golden. Now for your wrist slot, the Bracelets of Royal Redemption are the long-awaited bracers that you were probably waiting for, while tired of equipping your blue Loomguard braces. Besides being cloth bracers, these are a straight upgrade for every stat it has on it. I mean, it has more intellect, stamina, spirit as a new stat, and 20 extra healing. All you'll need to do is get to the Twin Emperors and show them who the real Emperors are with a couple of slaps in the face. Now, depending on which guide you look at, it will either say to enchant them with 24 healing or 7 intellect, but I would personally recommend you to go with the healing enchant, especially if you have multiple spell crate items already. And now let's go over to the other column and talk about the gloves. So your Peacekeeper gauntlets are already available in ZG, and just like for your shoulders, you have another slot that doesn't get any upgrade in Phase 5. But like we've seen earlier, it's actually a good thing. It allows you to put better items in priority. If you don't already have those, just keep doing ZG until you get them, and I mean you can still get idols for your future upgrades at the same time, and it will be one less slot to worry about. The only thing that changes with AQ though is the enchant that you will put on it. In fact, you have access to a 30 healing enchant to your gloves, which is a pretty damn good upgrade just on its own. When it comes to the waist slot, Grasp of the Old God is yet again an upgrade by our plug Cthulhu, and this belt actually has some amazing stats on it. Compared to the Corehound belt or the Sash of Mercy, it gives you strong healing power, a good amount of MP5, and either a whooping 19 extra intellect or 15 extra stamina. So if upgrading your belt is a priority, definitely keep your eyes on this one because you will not regret it. For your leggings, this is another instance where you will have a choice for which one you get. As you can see, both are similar and have very strong stats for a Holy Paladin. The plate ones are coming out with AQ, while the cloth ones can already be obtained from Chromagus in BWL. As far as which one should you choose, it's completely up to you. If we just compare them side by side, we can see that the cloth ones give you more healing power and 24 spirit, while the leg plates give you almost twice as much intellect and more stamina instead, while giving only 9 less healing. The high armor and strength on them are also convenient stats. The leg plates are also only usable by paladins, so it might be better to give those to the paladins to allow the druids and priests to get the cloth ones, since it is their only option. In my opinion, allowing 2 people to get an upgrade sounds better than only allowing 1 person to get an upgrade. Obviously, if all of your paladins already have the empowered leggings, then it doesn't really matter. So it's just something to keep in mind because both are very good, and like I said, the plate ones can only be used by paladins, or I guess warriors for a diamond flask set, so you could also end up with them eventually just by default. But whatever you end up getting, just put a ZG enchant on them and you will be blasting healing. And now guys, let's talk about feat, but no, sorry, we're not going to talk about feat picks here. But the Boots of Pure Thought from BWL are still your best in slot going into AQ, as there are no other healing boots that come even close to those. I think the best choice in AQ for healing boots are the ones of the Twin Emperors, but even there it's only like 34 spell power, not even healing power, I think, so I mean that just won't cut it. So that's a good thing, because you will still be running BWL in Phase 5, and these drop from the trash mobs, as you may already know. Therefore, you can make sure your raid doesn't kill the right pack of Dragonkins in the room between Vale and the suppression room to do some trash farm in between resets. To do this, just make sure that you have at the very least a good 25 players present with 2 druids that are not bear tanks and 1 hunter when you go back to do your trash farm. The hunter will pull the captain and kite him out of the room, just like he would do for Drakkasath in Ubers, and then you'll have your 2 druids hibernate the Wormkins, so basically the ones that have the fireball volley ability that can deal obviously tremendous amounts of damage. And then you will kill all of the pack except for one of the Wormkins that you will keep hibernated, okay? This is very important. Then you kill the captain before running out. You will end up right outside the Uber's entrance, and then you run back to the orb and rinse and repeat. By keeping that one mob alive every time, the whole pack will reset as you re-enter the raid. That way you can farm many weeks worth of trash in one night or 2, and that will speed up your healer's gearing process. Just slap minor speed or 7 stamina if you already have Pursuit of Justice, and you'll be good with that slot. Now that we are done with all of the armor pieces, we can talk about the jewelry. What is kind of cool with the rings and the trinkets is that you have many different choices and combinations possible. Not all as good, I'll give you that, but still. Your best ring duo will surely be the Pure Elementium Band and the Ring of the Martyr. If we do quick math, it is 104 healing power together, which is much better than what I currently have. Although I know some healers that already have the Pure Elementium and COD Band combo and have 99 healing already, but I have Band of Servitude as one of my 2 rings. But anyways, speaking of Cauterizing Band, you could also have 2 of those because these are not unique, and you're still going to be in a good shape nonetheless, as these are very good healing rings still, even though they come from MC. There are also 2 other rings that you can get, but that might not get you too many caster friends though, depending on the context. In fact, Mind Tier Band and Ritzin's Ring of Chaos are actually pretty good for a Holy Paladin because of the spell crit that there's on them. Now, should you get that over a Fire Mage, for example? I mean, maybe, maybe not. But if you have a Mage Council in your guild, then forget those for a while. But if you are in a situation where you can get your hands on one of those, definitely consider it. Like I said for the headpiece earlier, it's all about balancing crit and pure healing. So, personally, if I had a crown, well, then I would consider a crit ring or maybe 2, since I would already have a very high healing amount just from my head slot. Just keep in mind that the Mind Tier Band drops off the World Boss Terrar, so it might be a little bit harder to get your hands on that one, and that the Ring of Chaos drops off the trash in AQ. The trinkets are also another interesting topic, as there are many different good ones and everybody has their iconic duo in mind. Obviously, you can expect the Rejuve gem to be on top of the list. I mean, it is self-explanatory. A passive, very high amount of healing power and MP5 are just great, so there is no doubt it is up there. And as you know, it drops off the 3 drakes in Blackwing Lair. Scroll of Blinding Light, that drops from Firemaw, is also a fantastic trinket in certain situations. Its 33% spell haste brings the casting time of your Holy Light to 1.7 seconds or so, which is almost as fast as your Flash of Light. On Vale, or when you need to pump out a lot of healing, it can be very strong. Next on the list we have the Hibernation Crystal and ZHC. These two trinkets have basically the same unused effect for healing, although ZHC gets weaker and weaker with every spell. If we consider that we spam Flash of Light in perfect timing with the activation of each trinket, and that they give us the maximum healing possible every time, we see that the crystal gives a much higher amount of healing. Even though it allows 2 less casts, it stays steady the whole time, and also has a shorter cooldown. The only downside to it is that you will need to kill Isandra in order to get the crystal, while ZHC is much more easier to acquire. Scarab Brooch is one of those trinkets that makes the list and that can be used for a long time before it gets obsolete. The fact that it gives a shield based on a percentage of the amount healed is absolutely insane, as it doesn't matter if you are in AQ or later in TBC, it will still be extremely powerful. From what I've seen while looking around to understand how it works, it seems to only work from direct healing sources, so healing over times won't be proccing a shield every time they heal. It does look like it can proc from AoE heals as well though, making it a very good item for a priest as well, for example. So all of those unused trinkets are probably situational, but still very good ones to have around. The last one that makes the list is the Shard of the Scale. While it has a very low drop chance from Onyxia, it gives you a very high amount of MP5, basically half of a Blessing of Wisdom permanently, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. It also benefits druids and priests heavily too, so just keep that in mind. When it comes to your choices of weapon, there is no doubt that the Scepter of the False Prophet is at the top. It has more than triple the amount of healing of a Jindo's Hexer, and more than twice the amount of a Bhelockharyh, making it the best healing weapon for any healer, and it's also the first time a weapon is better than the rank 14 healing mace. It drops from Cthulhu as well, and is going to be your best upgrade from this boss. What is also interesting for a paladin is the fact that the questline to open the AQ gate yield a very good healing dagger. And since it can be completed by anybody, it's only the first few that complete it on every server that get the Scarab mount, your only competitors for the Cthulhu mace, druids and priests, also happen to be able to equip daggers and might decide to go for it instead of waiting for the mace to drop. I mean, it ends up being quite an expensive item for them if you go through the whole chain quest, but they are guaranteed to get it instead of having to wait. Other alternatives to the pure healing weapon are the Bhelockharyh and the Sharpened Sileted Femur, which is a mini Bhelockharyh with 1% crit on it. But as always, since these have spell power rather than healing, they might go to casters first. For the enchants that you will put on your weapon, it's going to be 55 healing on the Cthulhu mace, that's obvious, but not necessarily if you get Bhelockharyh or the sword. If you only, and I mean only, heal with them, then I guess you can put 55 healing on them, but since these are damage weapons, I would keep it that way and put 30 spell power on it instead. That way, it would still be versatile for healing, farming, for shock and inspect, etc. But at that point, it's just my personal opinion, so you do whatever you want. For your offhand, the direct upgrades you get from AQ are Satura's Might, which is a Lay of the Life giver but with stats on it, and Wormscale Protector. For the Helden offhand, you will lose 2 healing power to get 2 MP5, so that kinda balances it out, and you get 12 useful stats that makes it pretty nice. If you already have a Lay of the Life giver though, you can decide to keep that and go with the shield instead, as the Wormscale Protector is a nice one for when you need the extra durability. It's better than the Malastars and the Dragonscale Protector, and the armor on it is quite high. And if you get that shield, don't forget to enchant it with Setted Stamina. And last but not least, let's talk about the Libram. Phase 5 is finally the phase where paladins get their relic alongside druids and shamans. The best one drops from Fangkris in AQ 40 and reduces the mana cost of your clans by 25. While it might not seem like a lot, you already need to dispel quite a lot in ZG, MC, and BWL already, therefore the passive adds up quite nicely. If you plan on getting your 8-piece tier 3, it can also be very nice as your cleanse will cost you less mana and heal at the same time. But at that point, that is a phase 6 discussion, so let's just stick to AQ. You will also have the choice to get 2 rare Librams to either reduce the mana cost of your seal spells or increase the armor of your devotion aura. The first one seems better for a Prot or a Red Paladin, as you rarely use your seal as holy unless it is to judge a boss, and at that point 20 mana doesn't really do anything. Libram of Truth then might be your best alternative in that case though, and drops off Magmus in BRD. So that's all I have to say for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked it and that it helps you with your best in slots for AQ. And do you agree with me on those items and the enchants, or am I just going crazy? Anyways, let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and all that good stuff, and we will see us in the next one. In the meantime, as usual, have a good one, and stay blessed.